We had such a great meeting last night talking about fear and the dimension of fear. And Zacharias was prophesied about Jesus and said that this Savior of the world has come into the world to free you from the hand of the enemy so you could serve him without fear. The problem is we lie about our fears so we can't get saved from them. And in Malachi 3, it talks about God being a fire and a soap, and that those that feared the Lord spoke often to one another, and a book of remembrance was written about them that believed on him. So there's all kinds of scriptures about fear and unbelief, and there's all kinds of scriptures about why we shouldn't live in fear. The biggest dimensional problem with that is lying about our fears and looking for man's salvation instead, because then we come under a curse. And that's why people are lie, they're dishonest, they don't tell the truth because they're looking for man's salvation. And so Gene Sullivan being able to tear up a contract for $1 million that probably would have turned into $20 million, having the faith to do that, he actually had a professional headhunter sign a contract with him to go through Asia to do a stunt show that Evil Knievel was supposed to do. But he heard God's voice and tore that contract up. So the $1 million was just the beginning. For a man to walk away from what could have been $20 million is very unusual, actually. And it says the just shall live by faith. So Adam and Eve were in the garden, and Eve got pregnant with fear, right? And then she got Adam pregnant with fear, with words. And how are we going to get out of the hell of fear and pulling a gun on people to save us and fix us? Because that's what happens. Relationships go downhill when people are trying to play Jesus to each other and trying to get each other to save each other from the hand of fear. And one of the worst conditions of the human soul is lying about the things we're afraid of, because we can't get help when we lie. That's why so many relationships are in bad shape, and people relate to each other out of fear of not getting what they need. So when we have user-friendly relationships because we're looking for people to save us, it all has a way of going south eventually. Because Jesus Christ himself is the one who came to the earth to redeem us and save us from the hand of the enemy, so we could live lives without fear and be free to love each other, not be in the bondage of using each other for a fear fix, or using the things in the world for a fear fix. That's kind of what Adam and Eve did too, and just causes you to spend life hiding behind bushes when you don't look at your fears and let Jesus Christ speak to you about your fear and get other words inside of you besides the words of death, the words of fear, the words of unbelief. We need the bread of life. We need living water to be okay. And ever since I met that guy, I've been touching my fears and hearing from God, because he wants to save us. And one of the greatest scriptures that ever helped me get out of the dimension of fear was Isaiah 8, that when you live in fear and you do what everybody and the people do that are taking each other down in a dimension of fear, it makes God sad. Makes him sad because he came to show us another way. So we talked about this movie too, and man, is it powerful. Because there's a few of the girls that actually decide in this movie to walk by faith and not by sight. This is, if you can get the depth of what's actually being said in this movie, it's outstanding. We expected it to be some little cheesy kids Christian movie that didn't have a lot of depth. But if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, this movie has a ton of great depth in it. Anyway, I hope you have time to watch our meeting, because it was all about getting free from a kingdom of fear so you're free to love and you don't have to use people to save you the rest of your life and be angry and offended because they don't.